When you decide to leave a law firm, no matter what the reason, whether you've been forced out or you've made the decision on your own to leave for your own personal reasons, there are some things that you ought to do before you leave in order to protect your best interests. The first thing, it seems to me, that makes a great deal of sense and is a prerequisite is create a plan. You know, John Wooden, one of my heroes, as I've said over and over again, has the saying, when you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And in this particular case, leaving your existing firm, whether you're an associate or a partner, is not something to be taken lightly. And so, like a good flight pilot, you ought to have a checklist. Create your checklist and then go down that checklist item by item. Make a list of all the people that you know as a consequence of being where you are, all the clients for whom you've done work or with whom you've come into contact. And make that list, by the way, on your own time, not on the firm time. Be sure that you have the phone numbers and email addresses as well as the correct snail mail addresses. Next thing, prepare your own forms that will help you shortcut or become more efficient in the development of your work, whether that be estate plans or whether it be forms for litigation, whatever it might be. And here, these are forms that you've collected on your own time and not, I emphasize, law firm work product. Next, plan for the transfer of files that you know are yours or that you suspect you will be able to take because the clients will follow you. Just make an idea of what you want, what the files are called, and so forth. Obviously, this is not something that you're going to do first off. Next, and perhaps what you ought to do first, as was the case in one of my engagements, is to take a look at whatever documents control the agreement between you and the law firm. One of my clients engaged me to move her from her existing large law firm to her own sole practice at a given date. And while I was making all the arrangements needed, I asked her to take a look at the contract. My fear was that there was something in that agreement that would hinder our ability to make a clean sweep, a clean alteration of environments. And she didn't do this. But 2 weeks before we were supposed to make the announcement, she took a look at the partnership agreement for the first time. And in that agreement, there was a clause that said something to the effect that any partner who walks away from the law firm before December 31 of any given year loses their right to any accounts receivable, any profitability distribution, and so forth. The cost to her would have been over $250,000. We either have to delay the switch, the announcement and the move, or we had to go into management and now, without very much leverage on our part, negotiate a departure. She did the latter, and she was compensated to a degree, but not to the degree that she would otherwise have been under the partnership agreement. And so I urge you to take a look at whatever agreement or oral contract, if you will, that binds you to the firm and whatever the circumstances may be there. Review your compensation structure with the law firm. Determine when it is that you're entitled to bonuses, when it is that there's a distribution going to be made, and so forth. Now, if you're in the beginning of that period, whether it be an annual period or a quarterly period, then there's not much problem. But if you're at the end of the period, that is a factor, as I'm sure you're well aware. Many people are cognizant of this. You're well aware of the fact that it may behoove you to postpone your thinking or at least postpone your announcement. As a matter of goodwill and as a matter of good economics, you ought to collect all the accounts receivable on matters that you're involved in. Do not leave the law firm hanging with those receivables. That's just going to create a bad taste in everybody's mouth and not be to your credit. When you make the announcement of departure, make sure that you are prepared. One of the things that oftentimes happens is that when you make the announcement of departure, a quick response will be, well, I know you've given me 30 days, or you've given me 90 days, or whatever the amount of time is, but we really can't have you working here under those circumstances. So why don't you pack your belongings up and leave today? Now, that's not an unusual response. This has nothing to do with compensation. This has to do with having somebody in one's midst that they no longer can trust because of your announcement that you're going to depart. So before you make your announcement, make sure that you're prepared, that if such a response does come to you, you can handle it and you can move forward quickly. If you're told to leave, as opposed to making the announcement yourself, do what you can to negotiate the best severance package you can develop. Take a look at what the firm has done with other folks. What's their history? What's their policy? What are their practices? And see to what extent you can negotiate at least as favorable, if not a more favorable, departure package. Don't burn your bridges. Life is too short. It's just not worth walking away angry. Yes, you're walking away for whatever reason, either because you were told to do so or you've chosen to do so. But don't burn your bridges. Referrals, testimonials, these are all important as one moves through your career. And lastly, what I'd say is get over it. For whatever reason that you leave, especially if you're asked to leave or told to leave, get over it. Life is too short to stay hurt. Have your week or 1 week or 2 week hiatus where you can feel sorry for yourself, and then get over it. Move on with your life. You're a good lawyer. You've got lots of people who would like you to represent them and to help them. Law is a loving and caring profession, and you've got a lot to give. So make sure that you focus on your future and the improvement. Yes, look back at the past, see what lessons you can learn from what happened, but then move on and take advantage of the new opportunities that are in front of you. Thanks for joining us today. This is Ed Pohl on the road again.